Hello everybody, I guess you're all doing well. Many of you demanded, sir, we need a detailed video on the Assam floods of 2026. So here is a detailed video. In this video, we have divided it into various parts. First, we will understand briefly the Brahmaputra drainage system. Then we will move towards understanding what are the causes behind this flood of 2026. The important thing over here lies is to understand how this particular flood is different from the floods that happened previously over the years in the Brahmaputra region. Thirdly, we need to understand what could be done in the future in order to avoid these types of situations. And last, we will also understand what are the guidelines that have been given by National Disaster Management Authority with respect to the floods. Let's begin this particular session. The first part is the overview of the Brahmaputra drainage system. Now, you have already seen that we have multiple times studied the Brahmaputra drainage system. So briefly, let's understand. The river Brahmaputra, basically originating in the region of the Tibetan region, it basically flows for about 1200 kilometers and enters India. When it enters India, it is known as Siang or Dihang. When it meets Lohit and Dibang, then it is known as Brahmaputra, and then it flows down, then enters Bangladesh. Right? It is joined by various tributaries. These are the right-hand tributaries and these are the left-hand tributaries. Now, understanding this becomes very, very important here. Now, this is a brief overview which you should know. Now, when we talk about the aspect of Assam flood, the question arises why this particular flood is different from all the previous floods that happened in this particular region. Now, this is very, very important. Please note. Normally, when we talk about Assam floods, it is a region which has experienced flood over centuries. Now, normally when the flood happens in this region, this particular region is most impacted during the normal floods. Now, somebody asked me, why is this so? Because generally what happens, while the Brahmaputra River is traveling for such a long distance, it tends to carry a lot of sediment. Lot of load. Now, these sediments generally are deposited in these lower regions, and because of the deposition, the river tends to form various other sub-rivers, and that means because of this sediment load, the courses of the rivers also change. And because of that, what happens? Various regions tend to receive or experience flood. Now, this is a normal course, something that is natural also because the river is very long, but this time the situation is something very different. This is a region which is normally experiencing flood, normally flooded. But this time what has happened is the upper regions also have experienced very severe flood along with the lower regions. 2026. Now the question will arise, what happened this year that it led to such a severe situation? Let's understand. According to the meteorological department, this particular region, which is again Assam region, along with the Nagaland region and parts of Arunachal Pradesh, there was a development of an intensified low pressure region in this region. Now, what happened because of that? This region received very, very heavy rainfall. Receiving very heavy rainfall means that these tributaries which are present over here, now these in a way started overflooding. Why? Because this region receives rainfall fine, but the amount of rainfall they received over here led to a intensified rainfall, leading to lot of water basically coming and joining or entering the main Brahmaputra River. That is why many of you are talking about the Assam floods, correct. But the important thing is the regions in Nagaland are also experiencing similar situation. It is because of the extreme rainfall that happened in this region. Now, let's see. The excessive rainfall in the Nagaland and the Arunachal Pradesh region along with the Assam region have led to a lot of water entering these small tributaries also. Now, what has that led to? Left bank tributaries, that means these small tributaries in the upper regions like Dikhau, Disang, Jhanji, Dansiri, these have crossed the dangerous mark. Once you cross the dangerous mark, that means you are on a verge where water will be in excess quantity and leads to flooding. Let's understand this danger mark for 2 minutes. See. Normally, when a river is flowing in its channel, this is the normal water level. Now, see, if the water, let us say, crosses this particular mark, it is possible that it will come to the upper in the other regions also, where it will lead to destruction also. So this danger mark is generally a significance that the water might lead to or cause floods in the future. So what happened? The excessive rainfall that happened, that led to excessive amount of water entering these tributaries. Large number of small tributaries and streams were flooded. So now the water rises up. Now it will go in any direction, because when the river is flowing in a channel, it is a directed movement. When the river is flowing in a channel, it is a channel where water is directed in a particular path. Once this water crosses, it will move in any path. Now this leads to a lot of flooding. Now this is what has happened because of the excessive water in these particular rivers. Now this added a lot of water in this particular region. Adding a lot of water in this particular region. This led to flooding not only of this part later on, but this region also got flooded. That added more moisture, more water to the Brahmaputra River. These also carried sediments along with them because of the excessive moisture. Further, this region also experienced flooding because the water that was added by these tributaries led to increase in the water in the Brahmaputra River. Now, the Brahmaputra River brings its sediments, agreed. But when excessive rainfall happened here, particularly these regions are devoid of what? Forest cover nowadays, because of that excessive deforestation which we'll study. They bring excessive load of sediments with them. Now that sediment is further deposited in these regions, which lead to the river changing its courses and moving to different regions, and that is why leading to flooding in those regions. This is what is very special about 2026 flood, where the upper regions have also experienced flooding situation, which normally does not happen in this particular region. Now, let us see the changing direction also. As I said, normally a river is moving in its channel. Its tributaries are also joining it in the channel. Now, when excessive amount of load, as I said, is present, what will happen? Supposingly, excessive amount of load has come of the sediments, it will be deposited. Now, the river which is directly moving in this manner might change its direction because of the sediment. So, it will lead to water going to other regions also and causing floods there also. So, this is again very significant, which is again normally in the lower regions, lower parts or these particular regions, it is very common, but it has happened in the northern parts also, and that has caused an excessive damage, excessive losses to the life, as well as various villages have been flooded. You know that very well. More than 700, now it was 700, now it has reached up to even 800 villages that have been very adversely impacted. More than 70 people have been killed. More than 8 lakh people now have been displaced. And the counting with respect to the livestock, with respect to animal, is something which we even do not know. Let's go into the analysis. Now, whatever we studied till now, it does appear like it is an outcome of the natural causes, right? What does this appear? It appears like, okay, this is something that is natural. The rainfall has happened, the channels, the water has come out, it has caused flooding. It appears to be a natural cause, but we need to see the other side also. Are the humans playing some role here? What is the role the humans are playing? Now, when we will analyze this, you will see, you'll yourself see that what humans or indirectly are causing these floods. Let's see. First reason is deforestation. Now, these are 2 clippings which I have attached from the local newspapers of Assam. These warnings had been told, continuously mentioned in the social media with respect to Assam. First, if you see here, over 75,000 hectares of Assam forest under encroachment, right? Assam lost 3,24,000 hectares of tree cover, the highest in India. Now, somebody will say, sir, how has tree cover loss got to do with the flood? Now, let's take a case study here. Have you seen that when you go to tropical rainforest, there is excessive rainfall there also? But do you see within those forests some form of floods taking place as such? No. Why? Supposingly, there is this particular region where water is falling, right? If it is devoid of any forest cover, the water after falling will just move or in a very fast pace downward, carrying not only the sediments, causing not only the soil erosion, but moving at a very fast speed. Now, supposing there are a lot of trees that are present here. When the water is falling, it will not only reduce the speed of the water flowing, but also the soil will also be conserved, because the forest over here act as barriers binding the soil. So when the regions in Assam and close to the Nagaland, which are currently being exploited and deforestation is taking place, when the rainwater fell, it led to excessive amount of water directly moving into the rivers and then joining the Brahmaputra River, causing excessive flooding also over there. Now, these rivers are basically in a way controlled by these trees which are acting as barriers. This is how the ecosystem is maintained and balanced, which we think that how come cutting a few trees will impact the river for that matter. Remember one thing, when you have a main river, the water is not only coming from its source, but it is the water from various tributaries are also joining that main river. With every single tributary, there are small other minor streams which are also joining the tributaries. With that minor stream, there are further minor streams which are joining that minor stream. That means this is complete system that is existing. If you impact one part of it, it will be impacting the other part as a whole. This is what we study in the integrated watershed management. This is what was disrespected when the deforestation to an excessive extent, which is unsustainable, was carried out. And this has been taking place since multiple decades. Second, mining activities. Now, this is a photo which is again published in the local newspapers in Assam. This is basically a satellite picture. What we saw is that excessive amount of sand mining was being done. When the excessive amount of sand mining is done, what does it do? It tends to change the courses of the river also. Changes even the path and direction of the river. In multiple cases, particularly with respect to these small tributaries which I mentioned, those regions have been surrounded where a lot of sand mining is going on. So the river restraining itself in the channels did not happen because a lot of sand mining had taken place. The river, it basically contributed. It contributed basically to its flooding also. So these things again are a representation of the excessive sand. This is normal excessive sand mining that is done over here. Now, if you come to another part, this is again a representation of the mining that is done in the nearby Assam regions. Now, just see, this region normally was covered by what? Trees, normally covered by some mountainous region. Now, when over here, let us assume that there is excessive rainfall taking place. Do you realize it will collect here? Or supposingly, this over here, this region which was earlier covered with what? Trees, it will cause not only landslide, taking a lot of sediments along with that, which will be again deposited in the rivers, because that will act as a hindrance to the path of the river, causing the water to come out of its channel. So these types of sites are very, very common in the regions of Assam. Along with that, now in Nagaland region also, Meghalaya region also, and that is why now northeastern region is very vulnerable to these types of disasters. Next, if you see hydropower, similarly again, more or less, we see that all these things have a close association with the deforestation and spoiling and impacting the ecology and the sustainable environment which is existing. This is again a photograph of a major hydropower project that is being developed in the region of Assam. Now, when the project has to be developed, see, you have to completely modify the geography of that region, particularly when the development is taking place. Now, when these activities are going on, you will see the maximum amount of all these sediments, all these things are going into the river, right? It is going into the river. Now, many rivers which were in a proper path joining this, their courses are disturbed. The excessive amount of sediment will go over here, which is not required, which is not natural. Now, these will change the course of the river in the lower regions also. Then again also cause flooding, not only disrupting the path of the river, but also causing or contributing to a lot of floods also. Second reason is when the excessive rainfall takes place, the dam is stopping the river when it is constructed. But when the dam water level also rises, then the dams will also release the water. In this particular case, there were situations where a lot of water was released by the dams also, which again led to a lot of flooding in various parts of the Assam. Now, these are aspects which when we are developing, we should always take care that it is very well recommended that focus on small hydropower projects. That is why, do you realize when we talk about renewable energy, we put the small hydro projects under the renewable energy. Why do we put that? Because those are sustainable. They not only produce electricity, they're less harmful, they're less impacting the courses of the rivers, and also not adversely infecting or the ecology for that matter, the flora and fauna relationship. But these things have never been followed in these particular regions, particularly in the few decades. Now, next thing, if you see old embankments. Now see, generally this is a representation, this is a picture that has been taken from Assam. Normally if you see this, can you see this particular structure? Can you see this pole? This. Now, somebody will ask me, sir, what do you want to say in this? Please remember, earlier on, there used to be embankments here. These embankments tend to prevent the flood-like situations. What has happened is, particularly those regions which are very vulnerable with respect to floods. Now, these embankments have not been repaired since decades. Now, when the water level rises, earlier, supposing the water level rises here, the embankments could protect them, particularly if not in all regions, but particularly those regions which are more vulnerable. But the embankments have become so old, most of them because of these movement of the rivers have been destroyed, no repair has taken place, and because of that, what has happened? The people are suffering and the economy is suffering. Many people often said that it is very difficult to have so many embankments. Why do we need to spend so much money? Please remember, today, when the condition of the Brahmaputra, where excessive water is entered in almost all the regions, it will cost you much more, millions times more than the cost which will take to repair these embankments. Last, for that matter, climate change. We know that very well. Human beings, through various means, through pollution, through various forms of actions, through various forms of energy production, is basically leading to climate change. Now, these climate change have also led to a lot of excessive amount of disasters that are happening. One of the representation was with the aspect of excessive rainfall taking place in the region of Nagaland and Assam. So, all these factors when you study, somebody will think, is it a natural event or a man-made event? Definitely, I will say that a large contribution has been done by man. To be more precise, I would say 70% contribution is by man, 30% is by nature. Nature is there to help you out. The nature is there to protect you. Nature is there asking for you to maintain a balance. But when we do excessive exploitation of the environment, excessive exploitation, and take the nature for granted, then the nature responds in this manner. Next, somebody will ask me that, sir, what should be done, right? There are certain points which are written, but better representation we'll do in the National Disaster Management Guidelines also. See, watershed management, that is integrated watershed management. That is what I said, because there is a main river, it has tributaries. Those tributaries are created because of various small rivers. So if you want to maintain a balance, you need to have proper maintenance and respect for these small tributaries. How will it happen? You have to have proper afforestation, maintenance of these regions, prevent exploitation, maintain a balance between environment as well as development. So, what integrated watershed management is required in those regions which have been, let us say, destroyed. Please focus on the concept of afforestation. Plant trees in those regions because it is very important. More the trees you cut in these regions, more will be the intensification of the disasters that take place. Early warning systems are required. There were a lot of regions where, let us say in certain dams, because during this time, there were no early warning alarms that were present when the water was released from the dams. So what happened? A lot of people were unaware of these reasons, and that is why that led to basically the intensification of the disaster that took place. Prevent encroachments. Now there are a lot of small rivers and streams where people have built up shop, built complexes, built commercial regions. Some have built certain, let us say, residential complexes. So what happens over there is the water was falling or rainfall was happening earlier also. At that time, they used to be directed through those channels into the main river. Rather than water falling in various regions and leading to a lot of problems, we need to focus on the fact that prevent the encroachment, have a proper integrated watershed management aspect so that you link the environment properly with the development aspect also. Focus on the small hydropower projects, because if you build large hydropower projects, we know that it leads to again a disbalance in the ecological relationship. The last part, which is again very, very important as an aspect of a recommendation also in your answers, as well as they can be asked directly in an examination, particularly for this year. If you see here, these are the 4 aspects, certain guidelines which you need to remember. First is risk reduction and mitigation, preparedness, response and recovery. So something that you need to do even before something happens. You need to prepare yourself, response when the flood has happened, and after that what recovery needs to be done. So quickly let's go through them. These are very, very important guidelines. First, risk reduction and mitigation. You should have the flood risk assessment and mapping done, particularly those regions which are more flood prone. Land use planning and regulation. Particularly, you know, where there are floodplains, avoid construction activities in those regions, which will again every single year lead to destruction of those properties. Structural measures, dam embankments, flood walls, which was recommended to you earlier also when I showed you the diagram. Ecosystem based measures, afforestation, wetland conservation are very, very important here. Enforce building codes, ensure structures are flood resistant and in design and construction. So these are those things which can basically very, very important for risk reduction. Now when you come to preparedness, because you have to prepare for the floods if they might happen in the future. So early warning systems, strengthening forecasting, real-time monitoring, these are very important. Preparedness planning, prepare district and community level flood plans. Resource readiness, pre-position boards, life jackets, particularly we know every single year there is some or the other from a flood that takes place. So we should be all prepared with these. Community awareness, people should be aware what to do. When these disasters happen, people are in a condition what to do, where to go. And that basically aggravates the death also, and also leads to a condition where people do not know where to go, how to ask and who to ask for the help. Response. Now supposingly, when there is certain issue of the flood, so how should be the response be? Timely evacuation, people should shift from the vulnerable regions to the safe shelters as they have been planned in these phases. Search and rescue, deploy trained teams. Again, the NDRF teams and the SDRF teams have been working for that. Relief provisions like safe drinking water, particularly in these times when flood happens, though you are surrounded by flood, but there is not a single drop to drink. That is why drinking water is very important. These are the times when a lot of diseases spread. This is a time when a lot of issues, let us say you do not have even basic toilet also, sanitary measures also present. So it leads to an aggravation of the disease and health and hygiene also. So incident command center, use ICS to coordinate the response among all the agencies. See, there are various agencies, private people, NGOs, at individual level are also working. So it is very important that everybody should work together. There should be no redundancy. In fact, it is a possibility that some people might be receiving more resources than the others. So a coordinated measure is very, very important here. Information management, maintain accurate information and updates to the public. It is also important that spread of fake news should be stopped. It is also important that we should prevent putting such information which tends to create certain tension in the society also. That is also very important here. Last, when certain floods have happened, after that if the situation relatively, let us say, becomes better, now the flood has, let us say, gone, now the flood-like condition is not present, we need to focus on recovery. So damage and need assessment. You need to assess what are the damages that have been caused with respect to life, with respect to livestock, animals, flora, fauna, infrastructure. That needs to be done. Livelihood restoration, support the restoration of livelihood in agriculture, small businesses. Many people who are particularly in the agriculture sector would have lost all their crops. So it is this time that government needs to help them out, right? There will be people who have taken a lot of loan. How will they repay their loan? The government needs to help in these cases. So assistance on the side of the government becomes also very critical here. Construction, reconstruction, building back better. Now this is very important. You know that there will be destruction of government as well as private property. Then we need to pool on the resources to develop these things again. Psychological support, this is very important. It is all about the mental strength. People need to be given motivation through the government as well as the NGOs. That becomes very important. Environment recovery, restore rivers, wetland, ecosystem affected by the floods. Now this is an aspect which needs to be followed. You will be provided with this particular PDF also that will be attached to the video in the description link. In the description link, you can click on that and you can get this PDF. This is very important for your examination. Please remember one thing. It feels really very bad when we see lakhs of people displaced from their houses. It feels so bad when we see our brothers and sisters dying. I was so shocked when I saw a small child in a small boat, and his father drowned in front of him because he wanted to save his son and daughter. It feels so bad that there were so many livestock, there were so many cows, buffaloes, goats, their bodies just lying, floating in the river water. It feels really very bad when we see these trees being cut where there is no sustainable management that is kept in the mind while we are developing the infrastructure. My request to all the people, not only the governments at the state level as well as the union government, is we need to now focus on environment as a priority. We as humans, not only as humans, but also as members of the community and a society, which also includes other people, other organisms also. If we neglect environment, we will have to repay in much graver sense, or with more intensification, this disaster will happen. So we feel very sad. We should all get together in every possible way, whether it is emotional support, whether it is financial support, whether it is support from any form of material that we can send in the region of Assam, so that we can help them out. Take care, lots of love. We will be coming again with even detailed analysis on various topics concerning environment, ecology, disaster, and geography. Take care and Jai Hind.